I am trained as a scientist, so I worked in healthcare, pharmaceutical industry, and more the left brain kind of training, if you will. Right before I moved to the United States in 2001, I went on a trip to the Himalayas in Nepal. And I've always been an adventurer. I've always wanted new experiences. But, in hindsight now, that was the start of my awakening.
Welcome, everyone. This is our first New Year's Galactic Ambassadors podcast. I am so excited to welcome our latest certified Quantum Soul Guidance Practitioner, Ulrike Sullivan. My name is Julia Balaz. I am the founder of Galactic Astrology courses, and I'm happy to present to you the wonderful Ulrika, who is originally from Sweden. I look forward to getting to know about her background story of how she started her own spiritual journey, her consciousness, evolution, expansion, how she was guided to galactic astrology, and what her intention is for the new year and beyond in service to others. So welcome, Ulrika.
Thank you so much, Julia. Happy New Year. Thank you for the invitation to be here today. I'm so grateful.
Likewise. Can you tell me where in the US are you based?
Absolutely. I'm based on the East Coast, right outside Boston, Massachusetts.
Amazing.
Feels very magical to be here.
I'm sure it does. So Ulrika, can you tell us a little bit about your journey of spiritual expansion? Have you always felt in tune with your inner senses, with your higher self, or did it come at some point in your life?
Yeah, my story, as you mentioned, started, I grew up in a small town in southern Sweden, pretty traditional, if you will. And early on in my life, I got introduced to meditation at 13 years old. And I didn't think so much about it, but it was presented to me back then, like, oh, it's a way to, handle stress in school and more towards that. I then went through life. I actually had many, many experiences of big shifts in my life. And it took me out of my little town in Sweden to closer to the capital of Sweden. And I spent about 10 years there. And I was trained, I am trained as a scientist. So I worked in healthcare, pharmaceutical industry, and more the left brain kind of training, if you will. And I got an opportunity there to make a big shift and move to United States. And that really helped me to open up myself, because my background was really more of a, traditional, and you go to work, you get married, you have kids. But this opportunity to move to the United States by myself with work opened up myself. I didn't realize that back then, but I remember right before I moved to the United States in 2001, I went on a trip to the Himalayas in Nepal. And I've always been an adventurer. I've always wanted new experiences. But, in hindsight now, that was the start of my awakening. I was in December, 10 days in a tent, in the Himalayas, hiking. And back then, I didn't really reflect on it that as much. But fast forward, I continued my career in science, in business, marketing, all kinds of labels, if you will, that has to do with success and how society defines success. And I was very successful. I had it all in a way. And I believe it was starting in 2014, I had this inner feeling that there's something more for me here. And At the time, though, I should mention, I was very, very disconnected from myself, following the template of success, if you will. And I really had a rock bottom at a point in my career where I was released from my job and I didn't see it coming. And often people say that when you have an awakening, it often hits a rock bottom where it matters to you the most. And for me, I was completely identified with my career. And from there, it launched me into an opportunity to really, truly connect with who I was, my true self. And now going back to, I was connected with meditation all the way from my early teens. And the first thing I did was to reconnect to that when I had my rock bottom. And after that, I started to follow signs and synchronicities in my life. It brought me back to yoga, which I also had started like prior to kids early on in my, stay and coming over to the United States. But for a long time after having had a young family, I was way out of, I did not do any meditation. I didn't do any yoga, nothing of that. But now, as I was offered this opportunity to open up to how I truly experience my soul essence, if you will, I went back and picked up what I have learned from the past. Now reflecting on, that's why I was introduced to this early on. Now yoga has become more than just exercise, right? This evolution of getting to know our true self began with reconnecting with what I already knew. And from there, it just launched me into signs showing me, I need to become a yoga teacher. So I became a yoga teacher. And another path led me to become a certified life coach. And after that, another synchronicity led me into become an energy healer. So, these layers of reconnecting in a way with what we truly already know as a soul. And for me, it was a complete shift from having the left brain kind of career to becoming this embodied healer, if you will. And so that's, and very quickly, I also got interested in astrology. I picked it up like very quickly. I got into other energy systems like Human Design, the GeneKeys, that I incorporated in my coaching practice, because that's how when I start to work with somebody, I have the ability to really lay out their energetic imprint before we even start working with each other. So it's kind of accelerated, and now with Galactic Astrology in the mix, it's just such a view of a person's energy. And then the gentle process of introducing someone to that perspective of themselves is so enlightening to me. So that's, I feel myself just expanding, and coming across all of these different modalities that I resonate with. And likely my soul knows all of this already. It's just about unlocking it. So here we are. Today, I'm an intuitive spiritual life coach and galactic astrologer. So this is where we're starting today.
Absolutely amazing. Such an incredible story. I feel so grateful that we are continuing with these Galactic Ambassadors podcasts, because the stories are just incredible, so inspiring. Knowing your North Node being in Pisces, your story makes so much sense. With South Lunar Node being in Virgo, it was so natural for you to be focused with your science mind, and naturally picking up astrology as well. But I'm sure there may have been most likely lifetimes of being a doctor, a nurse, or someone who was very left brain focused, and life is forcing you, whether you want it or not, to return to the spiritual center and co-creating with divine intelligence, not just controlling it from the human here now perspective. So it's such a beautiful, much more evolved story of your experience and embodying your wholeness in such an amazing way. Wow. Can I ask you, before you experienced the dark night of the soul and kind of, you know, your identity was stripped away from you, have you been receiving clues to something is off, like whether it being stress related issues, too much tension, like pushing against the current? Have you been receiving the signs, would you say, as you...
Absolutely, yes. And if I describe my life prior to my awakening, or this dark night of the soul, yes, I was pushing myself. I could be, you know, working number of hours after the kids were in bed, for example. I was exhausted, and I ignored all the signs that my body was giving me. By a very strong logic, I was able to really put my blinders on. And I think that's why I went on so long being so disconnected from my true self, that I was able to really just turn on the focus and go. But to one, you know, it didn't, I received the clues that I was exhausted. And if anyone is watching or listening to this, I have learned, and as we know now, when we push ourselves, it shows in our body. And I was completely disconnected from my body. I was frustrated. I was tired. I was exhausted. But my ego did not want to acknowledge that and allow me to rest, so to say. So I just kind of went on and on. And, you know, it only can go on for so long. But now in hindsight, it's easy to see how much I pushed myself. And now knowing that how I run energy is completely opposite, I would say, to what I used to do. Because I'm someone that needs a lot of rest. and I need to, the way I run energy, and I'm now looking to, you know, what Human Design or the GeneKeys and even Galactic Astrology and traditional astrology can show us, is our natural way of running energy. And so, yeah, I was completely working against my own natural energy at the time. Yes.
Thank you. It's something I've mentioned in the Higher Self Connection course on Teachable. It was one of the first courses I published. In that course, we teach students to really start paying attention for those subtle signs, because if you act on them, it doesn't have to get as bad. And just speaking from my own experience, just yesterday, I had such a download, such epiphany, looking at my transits, my progressions, my natal chart, realizing that I was going through that transformation of belief system and lifestyle just December, January, and the last quarter of last year. The pressure that I was putting myself under was so strong, because the identity was in succeeding and serving. Whereas now it seems, with Pluto transiting my 9th house and the last few degrees, it's really about shifting from that and moving to valuing health and happiness over working 24/7. So I look forward to having much more balance, and I'm grateful that I didn't have to go into much worst case scenario. You know, heart palpitations are just as far as I'll go, and then really do my best to find much more balance. So I hope, you know, people will be guided to this video that are perhaps at that point in their life. And really, it's so important to evaluate the signals that our body is giving us. I think one really strong belief that was so ingrained into us and into many generations before us, that it's not okay to do nothing, or relaxing means you doing nothing and you're lazy. And that's a shame, that's a guilt attached. We really need to fix that, because relaxing is doing so much for the body. It creates space to receive downloads, inspiration. So much work is happening inside the body in recovery. So take it easy, guys.
Yes.
And I'm so grateful that you are offering coaching sessions as well, especially for women that are going through this transition. And, through your own experience, you can really, and when you listen to their stories, you can see the alarm bells, I'm sure, and then you can offer some amazing guidance that way.
Yes. What I've found is that most of the time it is to work with someone to allow themselves to make space for themselves in their own life. And once someone is allowing themselves to do that, and there's many ways where we are hindering ourselves from giving ourselves that space that we need, whether it's family or external expectations or expectations from ourselves. But once we get into self-awareness about that, it's easier to make conscious decisions on, okay, how do I really want to live? And I think with astrology, we can also look into the soul's history of where does that come from? It doesn't necessarily be in your childhood, everything was created. It can be, as you say, generations and experiences way back, or previous soul experience that really is up for transmutation now.
Yes.
And that can be very much, an epiphany and freedom from that we are for ourselves and our lineage. It's to break a pattern.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I know my mother was a workaholic, so it's there, but it was amazing to see astrologically as well in the progressions and transits, how Saturn was aspected, Chiron was aspected, and how the multiple houses were actually linked all together. Like the full story was right there. So I'm so happy to introduce a skilled astrologer like yourself, combining human design and GeneKeys. It's brilliant. Can't wait for people to avail of this treasure box that you are. Would it be okay if we showed your gorgeous website, just to kind of run through some of the offers that you have? Absolutely. There? Would it be all right? So the website is ulrikasullivan.com. Beautifully designed. We can tell that you have come from this background where this gorgeous design is here. Tell me about the book, The Wisdom Beyond What You Know.
Yes. I published my first book this year, actually 2022, which is last year now. And it is really I call it an actionable spiritual self-help book. And I have a lot of earth in my chart. So I'm very keen on and interested in helping others to actually implement and ground what they learn about themselves, not just like as an idea, but actually to help others actually implement it, integrate it long term, so that it becomes a new way of living. And Wisdom Beyond What You Know came about. It was basically a download that I received. It includes 3 parts. The first part is really what we talked about, that mind-driven world, the logic, the left brain world. And I give in the book ways to identify ourselves in my stories, but also in each of the chapters, I've included coaching exercises so that anyone that reads this book or takes it to heart, you are getting a result from it if you sit down with it. And the second part is really about heart-based living and what that shift means, learning about your energy, intuition, inspiration, and tapping into all of these heart-based qualities that we are as we awaken and become more self-aware. And the third part I structured because I really want people to be able to make these shifts in life. And to me, multidimensional living is really when we live from our heart and intuition. So in the third part of the book, I show kind of the path to multidimensional living. And it starts with, this what I call the point of no return, when we realize that our past, our what we have lived so far doesn't necessarily have to define where we go next. We can release that, and that we can shift from our mind down to the heart and live from there. So it's basically a practical book in the sense that if somebody really wants to walk through that path.
What an amazing gift. Thank you for sharing. And then with your offering, so the Galactic Astrology, Quantum Soul Guidance sessions, do you offer written reports or mainly video Zoom calls? What is your style of delivery?
So my style is video and Zoom calls. I really have a passion for interacting with others one-on-one. And I offer other kinds of readings as well and coaching, and I see this as a way to expand. Like if someone is familiar with traditional astrology, this is the next layer, right? The Galactic Astrology. It really is allowing us to be that multidimensional self if we integrate it. And I also have plans on having special topics so that once I hear what people are interested in diving deeper in, I create special readings as well for a limited period of time. But I offer 3 different levels so that if you just want a half an hour reading from me with the basics, you can get that. You can get a reading that is focused on your Earth journey. And then you can get the full gamut that includes the galactic and Earth and everything. So why is this important? I feel it's important, as I mentioned earlier, is that as we start to relate to this galactic, that's multi-dimensional view of ourselves, it's also as important to ground that in our life here. So that's how we can co-create. And that's what I am really feeling passionate about, grounding that divine, galactic, spiritual to our lives today. And I think it's the 12th house, the 6th house kind of interaction that I have, which is really leading me to that wholeness, if you will, and balance in life.
Absolutely. And the earth elements in your chart as well. I'm so happy to hear that you say that and that you pay attention to that, and also seeing the variety of different sessions. And it's such a great point to make. People don't realize when they are booking their galactic astrology readings, to give you an overview of an eternity in a space of an hour or in written report, it's quite an undertaking. It's important to accept that you receive information that is most relevant for you at this time, whatever is most practical and helpful and possible to integrate to help you evolve where you are at now, but then find quite helpful follow-up session in a certain amount of time. The heart will tell you. You will start thinking about booking out a session and it'll stay on your mind. So it's great to hear that you have these follow-up or kind of niche experiences to suit people.
Yeah, often a reading can be kind of the accelerator. But then it's like, where do you take that insight? And that's what I'm really passionate about, offering that longer term integration, basically, because that's how we come into living multidimensionally and integrating all of this information over time, because can be quite overwhelming in the beginning just to kind of get this, oh my gosh, what do I do with it? Right?
Absolutely, yes. And I cannot tell you how many times I met a client in the past from other practitioners where they receive a psychic reading and they're left with that and there's no follow-up session available or possible, and they really struggle with integrating it in their, especially newbies who really just started on their spiritual journeys. It can be completely like a whole different language. So I'm so happy to see you, and I know there are many other practitioners who offer this follow-up and coaching service. I think it's such a beautiful marriage of this modality. So yay. Yeah. Is there any message that you feel is important for us all, or anything that you felt coming through during the Mercury and Mars retrograde? How do you feel about 2023?
Oh, I feel great about 2023. I think that, come March, there's a lot of shifts that are going to happen in the sky. And it's almost, we feel a little restless because it's been with the retrogrades now. At least I feel a little bit restless, but I know also that this this is a time to take that rest time, allow yourself to kind of just float a little bit at this time, because, and especially these weeks, January, early February, because it's going to be a wave of positive energy. I feel it coming as far as, and I think what we're doing here with Galactic Astrology is so divinely timed. It's kind of this big wave of new energy that people want to tap into and are ready for. So it cannot be better timing. And with the retrogrades, it really is a call for us to go inwards. And that is a lot of, I know, this shift of being externally focused to internally focused is one that many of us have resisted for a long time. But once we do and start to ask ourselves those questions, because that's often the switch goes off when we start to ask ourselves those questions, like, who am I, or what can I learn about myself, and be that curiosity comes up. And I feel come March, there's this curiosity that comes, what's next? And since Pluto is dipping its toe into Aquarius, and many other shifts are happening, Uranus going direct, it feels like the cosmic energy is really showing us, okay, you get a little taste of the future, you want to be ready. And I think for those who are feeling that it's a big soup of resistance, it's okay. Sit with that resistance for now, because if you are one of those that wants to start asking yourself those questions, trust that you will. Trust that you will, because it's never a coincidence what goes on. So all the resistance and challenges we've gone through the past years now, it's for a reason. And we're in March, I feel we're starting that process of dipping our toe into what comes next. And it's so much positive energy as part of that.
Thank you so much. That's beautifully said. And I would love to add, I've been feeling for a long time, just over a year, that a time is coming when there'll be a massive ripple wave of people that will seek spiritual guidance, astrology guidance. And it feels like come March and beyond, there'll be so many more people looking for alternative healing modalities. And I am aware there are so many people, huge amount of people that have been studying so many different types of healing modalities, yet they were not yet able or ready to step up and shine. And I'm sensing from what I'm hearing is that they are feeling greater and greater nudge to set up their websites or somehow find a way to rise and shine, because there will be such a high demand for these types of services. So much inner wounding will come up to surface in 2023. There'll be many more revelations. It'll really shake up people's core belief systems. So, as you said beautifully, that this modality of galactic astrology and soul reading has really kind of started slowly but surely just for the last 2 years, and getting ready to support the collective in, as best as we can. So I'm so grateful to be here with amazing souls such as yourself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you everyone for watching. We look forward to sharing more amazing stories in the future Galactic Ambassadors podcast. If you would like to learn more, you can visit our website, galacticastrology.com, check out different courses. Or if you would like to get a reading to find out about your connection to stars, your past lives on Earth or elsewhere, how they affect your life, and how to use that information in your current life experience to really leverage your soul gifts and qualities, understanding your challenges as well, you can visit Ulrika's website, ulrikasullivan.com. And also follow her on social media. You have beautiful YouTube channel, Instagram, and many other social media platforms. So I look forward to seeing your content.
Thank you, Julia. It's such a pleasure. I just want to say thank you for opening up this space for everyone. You're the door opener for many, and including myself. So I want to say thank you for that. It was a direct attraction and match. My energy was just pulled in, so that means that it's the right way to go. So I'm very thankful and grateful for that opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I love that metaphor. It's spot on. Much love to you all. Best wishes for the 2023 and beyond. See you all soon.
Bye.
Ha 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 ha!